Loki season 2 just dropped and I recently just watched it fully, finished 6 episodes, down and deep, and I should say it was a phenomenal experience. Now it's safe to say that Marvel has become pretty much a shit show recently. A lot of their TV series and movies are not really that enjoyable. They have been less entertaining. Quality has definitely dropped. It's quite shocking considering this is the same brand that made this and even this. This is the same franchise that has well known to be very good in making superhero movies, and they have been very consistent, but now it's just been quite lackluster. But in the midst of all of these poor TV series and movies that Marvel has been putting out, there is one that stood out. To be perfectly honest, it has stand out pretty well. It has to be the best project or series that Marvel has ever done so far, and I think Moon Knight just follows right below it. As you may know, Loki season 1 was aired I think a year ago, 2 years ago, not sure. But then this year we had Loki season 2. I went into the series thinking, this is gonna be another one of those disappointments after a huge hype over this season. And it was definitely a season that was, everyone was waiting for because of how the season 1 ended. It was definitely a suspense and it ended very well. So coming into season 2, I was definitely a little bit, I don't know whether I should be hyped about this season or should I really be going in unexpected. And right away on the first episode, my questions was answered, my doubts was cleared by the Marvel gods. Kevin has definitely answered this right here. Loki season 2 episode 1 just made me realize how much I missed Marvel at their very best. Can't deny it. I can't deny that Loki season 2 was amazing. Loki season 2 was definitely astonishing. And episode 1 itself already set out that image of this season is gonna be great because of the way it started. It was right back into the scene where season 1 ended. It was just amazing to be right into it. And for some reason, even though season 1 was released quite a while ago, I still remembered where we left off, and I still remembered some of the most notable scenes from the season 1 itself, and season 2 just kicked off from that area, and I just instantly remembered a lot of the scenes from the Citadel, from the Void, and even the cliffhanger scene at the very end of the first season. I am going to be talking about Loki, including both of the seasons, season 1 and season 2. Season 1 for me, it sort of gave me an idea of why is Loki even in this space of time, what is the TVA, who is he who remains, and what are these other characters, for example Sylvie and Mobius. And you had a lot of these characters coming in season 1 as sort of an introduction, and they did very well in the first season for you to understand each of their roles and what they're trying to do. And as the season gets tense and it escalates, you get to understand a lot of the concepts of time and the multiverse, for example. Especially in the last episode of the first season, you get to meet He Who Remains, which sort of answers the overall concept of the multiverse and ends with a cliffhanger of a choice. While the first season ends with that cliffhanger, for me that first season was all about introducing Loki into this idea of multiverse and explaining why it exists and what is the multiverse, and sort of introducing a lot of the characters that surround the first season. And season 2 for me is the main event, I would say. It's the event where it explains how Loki is going to be the savior of everything, and how each of these characters are going to get tied in and explain the backstory of a lot of these characters at the same time. And season 2 definitely ends with Loki finding his true purpose, or you would say the glorious purpose, as it's titled in the episode 6. Although season 1 is enjoyable, it is very enjoyable, it is very entertaining, because you're seeing Loki as not just a villain, but as a clueless man in this organization that no one knew ever existed. People who knew about what is happening all along, and how all of the events that happened in the Avengers was supposed to happen, and Loki's in the middle of all of this. But I think the main event, the main story is season 2, and it's very well done. I can't really fault anything in season 2. I felt like the pacing was amazing. A lot of people say the episode 5 was sort of a filler episode, but I think it's very important for me to see that episode 5 because it explains Loki's true purpose in episode 6 very well. in the previous episode. A lot of these episodes, although they highlight Loki's presence, they show how important Loki is, because that's the entire series about. It's about Loki, it's about him discovering his purpose, and it's about him being the hero at the end of the day. Loki definitely has been through a lot. He has been through a lot since the first few like Avengers movie and everything, and finally to see him, achieving some form of purpose in a very good way, in a very light way, is definitely an amazing thing, and it sort of gives you a lot of relief to see a man that was deemed to be a violent person, and rightfully so. I mean, this man killed a lot of people. For him to have this amazing character arc and to finish the season 2 with an amazing relief, I should say, is definitely a great moment. So yeah, while Loki stands out in a lot of these episodes, the other characters also stand out at the same time. I feel like in the first season you sort of get introduced to the characters, but in the second season is where you really see in depth of a lot of these characters. For example, Mobius and even Renslayer at the same time. You see a lot of their characteristics, you see a lot of their backstory as well at the same time. For Mobius, you get to go back and see his true form in the timeline, and to see, he has 2 kids and how he's spending time, and you sort of feel for the guy. And even the introduction of the character OB in the series was also very funny, was a very amazing. It's a character that, even though he was introduced in the second season, for some reason you get attached with him very quickly, especially during episode 5, I believe, when Loki's in this timeline and he actually sees the real OB, or Doug, I should say. She's an author, and then in the few fair lines that he has, you sort of get to know him better. You sort of understand his character, and they explain his character very easily. They don't really spend a lot of time in these characters that are in the timeline, for example, like Mobius and OB, but at the same time it's enough for you to really understand them and to really get the story flowing and to get even more attached with them. Didn't really find any moments of boringness. I think all kinds of dialogue were very much interesting. There was no any filler episodes or any filler lines. There were no filler scenes. The comedic timing was amazing. It was like revisiting some of Marvel's previous movies. A lot of the movies had very good comedy, and the comedy timing was just amazing. So to see some of those vibes back at it in Loki was also sort of a refreshment, because a lot of the deadpan jokes that we had in a lot of the other series was just too much and exaggerating at the same time. To see a lot of the moments of time being explained in season 2 was definitely very interesting, although I should say definitely gets a little bit complicated, and I had to definitely look up some videos online to really understand what is sometimes going on in terms of the time slipping and the time jumping, and a lot of the details that were missing as well. And I should highly recommend watching New Rockstars. They have done an amazing job breakdowning every single episode of Loki season 2, season 1 of course, so you can't really miss anything that was hidden. So yeah, as much as I can gush about a lot of these moments of Loki, I just really want every one of you that is watching me right now to go and watch the series. I think it's worth the watch, something that you can get hooked on very easily. You start the first season, first episode, and you're instantly hooked on for the rest of the episodes, and you have to finish it because everything goes like a full circle. It brings up to this monumental ending that was just amazing, and again a relief to see from Loki. The music is phenomenal. I think it's a very good soundtrack. For a long time, I think Marvel hasn't really invested in a very confident or a very heroic, superhero based soundtrack that gives you the chills and the feels of it. Loki definitely is a step up in that. In terms of the other characters, again, they are developed very well. Like I said, Mobius, Obi, and Renslayer, Miss Minutes, definitely Kang. Of course, I would say there was not really any fault that I can see from season 2 or season 1, but in general, I would say when it comes to time and a movie that is explaining about time, a movie does a very good job in explaining about it, because a movie tends to finish off very quickly. But Loki, as you can see, every episode is like 50 minutes. Loki is definitely long, and in terms of explaining about time and going back in time and everything coming into a closed loop, and explaining about how you change the past and the future tends to get changed and rides along with it. The consequences that happens in the past is something that you have to deal with it in the present. In the future is something that is explained in the series. But I would say when you're explaining stuff like that in a series based format is definitely a little bit hard. Attack on Titan being one of the examples as well, other than Loki. So Loki definitely has some moments, like I said, confusion of what is really happening, moments where you miss out a little bit of sentence or a little bit of a scene as well. It definitely can get you a little bit confused on what is really happening, so you have to pay a lot more attention. But again, even when you're paying full attention, I think there are moments where you can get confused because of all the terms that are being explained. Again, I highly recommend a lot of the new Rockstar videos. They definitely explain very well a lot of the episodes, what is going on and the time stuff. But that being said, I think that is the only thing that I can find a little bit of a con, I would say, a negative thing. Other than that, I think it's a refreshing project that Marvel has ever put out. It's definitely a little bit of I wouldn't say hope, but I would say a smile on my face in terms of Marvel superhero stuff. Definitely something new, something fresh, and something just ends very well. It starts very well, it goes for very well, and it ends very well. It's a great moment the whole time. I would give Loki a 9 out of 10. A strong 9 out of 10. You should watch it. It's worth the watch, worth spending 50 minutes every episode, but you don't have to binge watch it. You can watch it on your own time, but I think it's worth the watch. So with that being said, I hope you enjoy this review. Most likely I'll be doing the Marvels review as well. I don't know what kind of shambles that is, but anyway, thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. So bye bye.